So what I want to focus on a little bit in this morning session is group singing more so than solo singing. You have a voice, and again, I rarely coach my soloists unless they're just singing wrong notes, or they're singing out of tune, or their pitch is bad. Then we address those issues. But style is somewhat personal with the solo. But one of the things that we do when we join our choir is we in some regard deny ourselves and our own personal expression for the greater expression of the group. It's kind of like being part of the body of Christ, right? It becomes more, but less about me and more about us when we're engrafted into the family of God through Jesus. And so we kind of take that same approach with our group singing. And so a couple of really key important factors for us are breath control. So the voice, God created the voice to work with breath. And if we don't use our breath properly, then this beautiful mechanism that the Lord created here won't work properly. And so how many of you have really long worship services at your church? Do you have long worship services? No. Oh, yes. 2 hours? 3 hours? If you end up having a 3-hour worship service and you're the primary worship leader for a 3-hour worship service, you're going to sing a lot of music in that period of time. And one of the things that I believe to be true is that we have to be good stewards of the gifts the Lord has given us, and that includes our physical bodies. And so one of the ways we start to approach that, especially if the requirement on us as a worship leader, worship pastor, musician, is to provide music for really long worship services, is making sure that what we do is functioning correctly so that we can last as long as we possibly can without doing damage. Because I don't think it's a badge of honor to wake up on Monday morning and not be able to talk at work because we sang for 7 hours in church. Now I know preachers believe that it is, and I would never contradict the man of God. But so we got, most of you probably have real lives outside of your church, right? You're bivocational, or your mothers or fathers, and you've got all kinds of stuff going on. So I'm also really happy to have a couple grad students with us on this trip too. Eric is my grad assistant. Eric, come here. Eric is from Plant City, Florida, the strawberry capital of the United States. So that's their big claim to fame. They're actually in the middle of the Strawberry Festival right now. It's going on. Literally hundreds of thousands of people come to Plant City, Florida to eat strawberries. I don't understand. But Eric is one of our graduate students. He finished his bachelor's degree at Lee 2 years ago, and he went into full-time ministry as a full-time worship pastor at a church in Virginia for 2 years. Yeah. And so he came back to Lee this past year to start a master's degree in conducting. And so I'm going to ask Eric to take you all through. Now, you can feel as comfortable as you want to. What we would like is for you to participate in some of these exercises today. If you don't want to, you don't have to, there's no judgment here. But if you'd like to participate, we're going to ask you. So Eric is going to take us through some good breathing exercises. These are things that you can do in your car on the way to work. You can do in short periods of time. But I will say this, that for these to really take effect, you can't just do them on Sunday morning at 6:30 a.m. before your 7 o'clock service. These are things that you need to sort of start to incorporate. It's like exercise in a sense, right? For exercise, you can't just go run 5 miles once a month and it pay off, right? Because it'll take the rest of the month to recover if you run it once a month. So this is kind of these daily things. So Eric's going to take us through a few breathing exercises. We're going to invite you to stand and join us with that. And then Hayden, who is from Knoxville, Tennessee, is the current student conductor. He's going to take you through some warm-up exercises. These are some of the things that we do at the beginning of every rehearsal to sort of activate our voices, to get us moving all together in the right direction, and those kind of things. So he's going to invite you to participate in that. And then I'm going to spend the last part of the time talking to you a little bit about vowel unification, how we pronounce our words together. And what I bring, you'll have to adapt to Jamaican culture. Okay, so I don't know. Well, Joelle will tell you, we're learning a couple of Jamaican pieces, and she had to teach us the dialect because I'm not good. But some of the things I'm going to talk to you about are just about how we unify our voices, and then you can adapt it to your ministry situation. So what I have to say to you is not the gospel. This is just things that we need to pay attention to craft a sound, and then you get to choose whatever sound you want to craft that works for your church. Does that make sense? Yes. All right, so will you welcome Eric Broom this morning?
Hey everybody. So great to be with y'all. So real quick, the first thing I want you to do is just take a deep breath in and let it exhale. Breathe in. Yeah. One more time. So a lot of times when we're taking a deep breath and we're thinking about singing, that deep breath, we feel like we're breathing in and we're expanding, and then when we breathe out, we're kind of, well, that's actually the opposite of what's happening. So when you breathe, you have a diaphragm, and so just like Dr. Moffett mentioned, the more you do this, the stronger you'll get at it, is because the diaphragm is actually a muscle, and so what happens when you breathe in is the diaphragm actually condenses and makes like a vacuum, which sucks the airs into your lungs, and that's what makes your lungs expand. So when you breathe in, your diaphragm is actually flattening, and then when you breathe out, that muscle is pushing that air out and pushing that air up through your lungs, through your past your vocal cords. That's how you make sound. So it's actually not this motion of up and down. It's actually down and up that you're making with your diaphragm and your breath. So what's the most important about when you're breathing is this half of your body is in a good position. So first we're going to start seating. If you'll scoot to the edge of your chair, and you'll get your back as straight as possible. Yeah, I might need to make a little room. And what I want you to do is I want you to take your hands and put them right around where your thumbs right around your rib cage, and then just let your hands fall. And what I want you to do is I want you to breathe in, and what you should feel with a nice breath is you should feel your diaphragm flattening while your lungs expand, and then when we breathe out, you should actually feel your belly kind of push out as a muscle is pushing that air up. That's a good technique for a breath there. So try that with me. Let's breathe in real quick. Breathe in. Now breathe out and feel it push. You kind of feel your belly expand there? Yes. Yeah? So it's a little different. It's kind of shifting how we think about a breath. So try that one more time. Breathe in. Now breathe out. And expand. It's nice. So that's kind of the idea. You can make this formation when you're sitting, when you're standing, when you're leading worship. As long as you've got a good posture from your waist up, you should be able to, and you're thinking about your diaphragm that way. That's how you get a good breath. So real quick, I want to do an exercise with you while you're sitting. We're going to breathe in for 4 beats, and we're going to breathe out for 4 beats. So what it's going to sound like, we all demonstrate this for me. Ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Very nice. So right on a shh, kind of out so you hear that air coming. The goal of this exercise is you want to get your lungs completely expanded in 4 beats, and you want to get it completely out on empty in 4 beats. Does that make sense? Can we try that together? Ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Very nice, very nice. So now we're going to do it in for 4 beats and out for 8 beats. Try that with me. Ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is a great exercise to activate the breath. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, right? So this is a great exercise, and that's what Dr. Moffett's talking about by exercising that muscle. The more you do that exercise, the stronger that muscle is going to get, and you'll be able to hold out for longer beats, 12, 8. I know it sounds crazy to do 18, 21 beats, but the more you work that muscle out, sooner or later you will be able to get there, and that's great technique when you're doing those long services to have a good breath. The last thing I want to talk about is your type of breath. So when we're doing choral singing, or even when you're leading worship, and you're singing in a microphone, there are different kinds of breaths. So what I mean by that, there's a cool breath and a warm breath is what I like to call it. So a quick cool breath is and you kind of feel that air rushing into your mouth and into your lungs, and you kind of make a sound, and it feels cool. Try that with me. Go. You feel coolness going into your mouth there? Yeah. So I call that a cool breath. What I call a warm breath sounds like this. You didn't hear anything, did you? That's a warm breath. So try that with me. What you're doing is you're still inhaling the same amount of oxygen, but you're just not making a noise with it. And it should feel warmer when you suck that in. So try that with me. And it feel much different? Yeah. So cool breath and warm breath, what we do, so when you're leading, when you're singing with the choir, everybody make a cool breath sound for me. So that's what you don't want to hear whenever you're about to sing, you know, what everybody's saying. You might scare somebody. So do a warm breath for me. So you don't hear anything, and so what that does, especially when you're singing the microphone for praise teams, but also for choirs, is it takes that distraction out of, and you can get right to your pitch a little bit quicker. So real quick, let's stand up and let's do one exercise together. We're going to do two things. One thing, I want you to put your hands back where you felt your diaphragm. We're going to do 3 warm breaths. So we're going to do a warm breath, exhale, warm breath, exhale. And then after that, I'm going to count you and we're going to do our breath exercise. Does that make sense there? So try this with me. Warm breath in, out. Now try to make it as quiet as possible. The only thing I want to hear is the wind. Ready? Breathe in, out. Very nice. There's so many people in here and I didn't hear a single thing. Nice. Now do a cool breath, just so you hear the difference. Cool breath. Ready? Breathe in. Yeah. Breathe out. Yeah. Very nice. Last thing we're going to do is that breathing exercise. We're going to breathe in for 4, and then we're going to breathe out for 12. Oh, I scared some people. You got it. Here we go. Ready? Breathe in for 4, and 1, 2, 3. On a shh. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Very nice. You guys got to see. Those are just some exercises you can work on. And that should help out.
So here's a couple other sort of tips you can add to that if you like. The reason we breathe through our teeth is to create some resistance. When we sing, there is resistance in the vocal mechanism, right? And so when we're just breathing, creating some kind of resistance. So if you care anything at all about this, which, I mean, I don't know if you really care or not, but if you really do care about it, here's a couple of other things that you can do to build resistance if you want to kind of extend your stamina with breath. And I don't know if these are readily available in Jamaica or not, but in the United States we have balloons sometimes that are like this long. And if you can blow that balloon up and try to see how far you can blow that balloon up with one breath, and that creates resistance, and it also creates a gauge for how big the balloon gets, the better the breath support that you've got. And then when we're singing, you've got to learn how to manage the air. Right? Because you can expand how much air you can take in, but if you don't control how fast that air leaves your body, then you can expend an awful lot of air too fast and then not be able to sing pretty phrases. Right? So we sing some songs where we don't take a collective breath for 24 measures. Do you understand when I say measure? Or so one measure would be a count of 4 that we just did. So 4 times 24 is whoever's the math person. Yeah. That's how long sometimes we sing collectively without taking a breath. And it's just from building up the stamina. So the balloon is a great little trick. Yes, sir.
Just to be clear, do we breathe using our nostrils or not?
Yes. Eric? There's different opinions, and I'm going to let the expert tell you. And then I'll correct him.
So, really, when you're deciding where to take your breath, the nostrils are probably your best bet. One, because here's two things. When you exercise, after you get done, say you run a mile and you get off the treadmill, and if you're like me, you're like. The first thing your athletic trainer will teach you to do is put your hands on your head, breathe through your nose, out through your mouth. The reason they tell you to do that is because through your nose, all the way down to your lungs, you're actually, I know it doesn't sound that way, you're getting more airflow into your body that way. Through the mouth, you're actually allowing stuff to come in, and when you breathe quickly, you're not expanding your lungs as much as they can be. When I breathe through my nose, I can take a deeper breath and get a lot more oxygen in my lungs than through my mouth. So, here's why I say it depends where you're starting in the song. If you're starting at the beginning of the song, it's okay to breathe through your mouth to get that good starting off breath. But throughout the song, if I'm singing, "How great is our God, sing with me how," or if I can do it through my nose, "How great is our God, sing with me how great," it automatically knocks out the possibility of having that cool breath we talked about. But also, once you strengthen that diaphragm and you continue doing this exercise, you'll actually get a little bit more oxygen into your lungs. And when you need to get oxygen into your lungs quicker, the mouth is where you need to go. But for amount of oxygen, you'll use your nose. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. Now it's correct.
Very good. So when I looked at them and asked the question, Eric's response is spot on, and as a technician, that's exactly right. It also keeps us from overusing sort of the vocal mechanism when we breathe, because when we gasp, when we make noise, something's moving here. And so we're using less energy here when we breathe through our nose, and we'll go, "Huh." You hear that right there? That's actually, it's damaging to the voice when we do that. So when you kind of, whenever you suck it in and you make that noise, something's moving here that's causing that noise. So this reduces strain. Now, Jordan, when I looked over here, I said, "Do you breathe through your mouth or your nose?" He said, "Yes." And this is a more advanced technique, and it's something that has to do, we work very hard on placement. So there's times where we want the sound to be kind of wide. Let me put it in these terms. The difference between pop sound, pop music, and classical music. Those are two extremes, if you will. When we're singing a pop style, we're going for a wider kind of approach to it. You know, it's here, but when we sing our other stuff, like mainly what we sang this morning with the a cappella things, we're going with a different approach and the placement of where we put it. And so there is a technique that can develop, because we know all of this is somehow connected together, right? This is one big passageway. And when I breathe, I'm actually taking air in through the nose and the mouth at the same time, because of where I've got this placement. So for me, the placement, it's echoing off of Eric's idea of cool breath and warm breath. When you eat a spoonful of soup, blow on that spoon. That's cool breath as well. And it's coming from a narrow place with a lot of energy. But not that any of you would ever do this for any reason as an adult, but maybe as a child. When you would fog a mirror up or a window, that's warm breath, right? So it's the same breath, but the temperature is very different and the approach is very different. So often we're trying to sing with warm breath, especially on the a cappella choral things. And when we do that, we're getting all of this activated in somehow. I want these kids to feel tone resonate in all of these places in their heads when they sing. When that happens, you get this open approach. And you really are taking air in through your nostrils and your mouth when you do that, instead of one or the other.